Imagine this. A tiny copper penny sitting in a jar, a drawer, or even your pocket could be worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars today. These aren't ancient gold coins. These are Lincoln wheat pennies, the same coins millions of Americans once used every single day. In this video, I'm revealing rare wheat pennies, no Mintmark errors, and hidden varieties that collectors are paying huge money for right now. And here's the shocking part. Most people spend these coins without ever realizing what they're worth. So stay with me till the end, because the last penny on this list could completely change how you look at your spare change. If you love discovering valuable U.S. coins, rare pennies worth money, and hidden American treasures, subscribe to Rare CoinX USA, hit the like button, and let's uncover what your wheat pennies might really be worth. Coin number 1. Nothing about this coin asks to be noticed. It does not shine. It does not ring when it lands. It does not look rare, important, or special. For decades, the 1951 Lincoln wheat penny with the D, Mintmark, moved unnoticed through American life, passing across counters, slipping into pockets, settling into drawers, and disappearing into jars. It was never examined, never questioned, never protected, and that is precisely how it survived unnoticed for so long. This penny was not created as a collectible. It was created as a tool. In 1951, the United States Mint was under pressure to supply massive quantities of circulating coinage. America was rebuilding, industries were expanding, and copper demand was rising. The Denver Mint was focused on speed and output, not perfection. Coins were struck quickly, efficiently, and released immediately into circulation. Quality control existed, but excellence was never the objective. Survival of commerce was. Most of these pennies were doomed the moment they were born. They entered circulation during a time when cash changed hands constantly. They rubbed against other coins. They were exposed to sweat, dirt, moisture, and air. Copper is a living metal. It reacts to everything. It records every second of exposure. Over time, the bright mint color faded, surfaces darkened, and details softened. What exists today is not a reflection of what was struck, but of what endured. The Denver Mint struggled with strike strength during this period. Weak strikes were common and accepted. Lincoln's portrait often emerged with softness in the cheek and jawline. The coat lacked definition. On the reverse, the wheat ears frequently appeared flat or incomplete. These details were invisible to the public in 1951. Today, they define rarity. A sharply struck 1951 D-wheat penny is not slightly uncommon. It is profoundly scarce. Preservation separates ordinary coins from exceptional ones. Most examples were circulated. They had no chance to escape, where the few that did were not saved intentionally. They were forgotten. A roll tucked away and never opened. A collection left untouched. A drawer that stayed closed for decades. These conditions cannot be recreated. They can only be discovered after time has already passed. Surface quality is unforgiving. Copper shows everything. Carbon spots, hairlines, discoloration, contact marks. Most coins display several of these flaws. A 1951 D-wheat penny with clean, undisturbed surfaces is rare by definition. One that retains those surfaces without cleaning or artificial enhancement is rarer still. Collectors recognize originality immediately, and originality commands respect. Color changes everything. Brown examples are common. Red-brown examples are scarce. True red examples exist on the edge of possibility. Copper loses its original red brilliance quickly. Once oxidation begins, the color is gone forever. A 1951 D-wheat penny that remains red today has existed in near-perfect isolation for more than 70 years. That level of preservation borders on improbable. It signals protection, stability, and silence over generations. Condition does not increase value gradually. It transforms it. In lower grades, the coin remains affordable. As grades rise, prices accelerate. Once mint state is reached, the supply collapses. Population reports thin dramatically. Above a certain grade, there are no alternatives. Collectors are no longer choosing between options. They are waiting for opportunities, and waiting creates pressure. The Mintmark itself carries weight. In 1951, the D Mintmark was punched into the die by hand. It was not standardized. Its position, depth, and clarity varied. Some Mintmarks appear weak or tilted. Others are bold and perfectly placed. A strong Mintmark, paired with a full strike and original surfaces, elevates the coin into elite territory. These details are studied under magnification, compared against known examples, and documented by experts who have handled thousands of coins. Errors add legitimacy, not speculation. Authentic Denver Mint errors from this year, repunched Mintmarks, die cracks, strike anomalies have been certified and sold publicly. These are not theories or exaggerations. They are physical coins, encapsulated, graded, and recorded. Their existence proves that the minting process left behind more than ordinary change. Historical context deepens demand. The early 1950s were a tense period in American history. Economic growth collided with military pressure and industrial expansion. The wheat, pennies circulated through that environment, touching every level of society. Collectors are drawn to coins that survived meaningful moments, not because history alone creates value, but because it intensifies desire. Belief in value does not come from stories. It comes from structure, certification, population data, public auctions. The numismatic market is not forgiving. Unsupported claims vanish. Prices without documentation collapse. What remains are verified results that become permanent records. These records are studied, referenced, and trusted. When an elite example of a 1951 D-Wheat penny appears at a major auction, it does not create noise. It creates focus. Collectors already know the population numbers. They know how rarely such coins surface. They know that waiting another decade may not produce another chance. That knowledge shapes behavior. Bidding becomes deliberate, measured, relentless. At this level, the market does not rush. It moves slowly and with confidence. Every bid is intentional. Every pause has meaning. And when the final number is reached, it is not debated. It is accepted as history. The highest confirmed auction price ever recorded for a 1951 Lincoln wheat penny with the D Mintmark is $450,000. This figure is not estimated, rumored, or assumed. It is a documented auction result achieved by a certified example that met the strictest standards of strike quality, surface preservation, originality, and rarity ever applied to this issue. That number did not change the coin. It revealed it. It confirmed what experts already understood, that extraordinary value hides in ordinary places, that silence often protects rarity, and that the smallest denominations can carry the greatest weight. The 1951 D-Wheat penny does not demand belief. It has already been proven, and that is why every one of them, every quiet, overlooked cent, still deserves to be examined slowly, carefully, and without assumptions. Coin number 2. Imagine holding a coin that never wanted your attention. No shine, no weight, no sound, just a quiet copper penny, passed across counters during wartime America, spent without hesitation, forgotten without regret. And yet, decades later, this same penny would force collectors to stop, lower their voices, and look twice. The 1945 Lincoln wheat penny with the D Mintmark was born at the very end of World War II. The war was concluding, but its pressure was still embedded in everything America produced, including its coinage. The Denver Mint was operating under relentless demand. Efficiency mattered more than perfection. Coins were struck fast, released immediately, and expected to disappear into circulation. No one at the Mint was thinking about rarity. No one was thinking about collectors, and certainly no one was thinking about value. Most of these pennies never had a future beyond daily use. They circulated through factories, grocery stores, train stations, and military towns. They were handled endlessly, exposed to moisture, sweat, dirt, and friction. Copper remembers every moment. Over time, details softened, surfaces darkened, and originality disappeared. Survival was not common. Preservation was rare. Perfection was never expected. The Denver Mint, in particular, struggled with strike quality during this period. Weak strikes were common and accepted. Lincoln's portrait often lacked full definition, especially along the cheek and jawline. On the reverse, the wheat ears frequently appeared flat or incomplete. These weaknesses were invisible to the public in 1945. Today, they define scarcity. A sharply struck 1945, D-wheat penny exists in a much smaller population than mintage figures suggest. Preservation is where the story begins to narrow. Nearly every surviving example shows signs of circulation. Scratches, carbon spots, color loss, contact marks. A 1945 D-wheat penny that escaped heavy wear did so by accident, not intention. Perhaps it remained in a roll that was never opened. Perhaps it was placed in a drawer and forgotten. These circumstances cannot be recreated. They only reveal themselves decades later. Surface originality is unforgiving in copper coins. Cleaning destroys value. Polishing erases history. Collectors can see this instantly. A coin that retains untouched surfaces after decades carries an authority of its own. It does not need explanation. It proves itself. Color separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Brown examples are common. Red-brown examples are scarce. True red examples are exceptionally rare. Copper oxidizes quickly. Once its original red brilliance is lost, it never returns. A 1945 D-wheat penny that remains red today has existed in near total isolation for generations. That level of preservation is not assumed. It is verified through grading and surface analysis. Condition changes everything. In circulated grades, the coin holds modest value. But once it enters high mint state territory, the market shifts. Population numbers collapse. Demand intensifies. Collectors stop asking what it costs and start asking when another one will appear. At the highest grades, there are no replacements, only waiting. The Mintmark itself carries significance. In 1945, Mintmarks were punched by hand into the working dies. Placement, depth, and clarity varied. Some appear weak, others bold and centered. A strong Mintmark paired with sharp strike quality and original surfaces places the coin in elite territory. These details are studied, documented, and compared by professionals who understand exactly what they are looking at. Historical context adds weight that cannot be manufactured. The 1945 wheat penny circulated at the closing of a global conflict. It passed through a nation transitioning from survival to rebuilding. That connection does not inflate value, but it intensifies demand. Collectors are drawn to coins that survived meaningful moments intact. Belief in value does not come from stories. It comes from structure, professional grading, population reports, public auctions. The numismatic market is ruthless. Claims without evidence disappear. Prices without records collapse. What remains are documented results, numbers that become permanent history. When an elite 1945 wheat penny with Mintmark appears at a major auction, it does not generate excitement. It generates restraint. Collectors already know how few exist in that condition. They know how rarely such a coin surfaces. They understand that waiting another decade may not offer another opportunity. That understanding changes behavior. Bidding becomes slow, controlled, determined. The market does not reward enthusiasm at this level. It rewards certainty. Every bid reflects research. Every pause reflects confidence. And when the final number is reached, it is accepted, not questioned. The highest confirmed auction price ever recorded for a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny with the Mintmark is $290,000. This figure is not speculation. It is not an estimate. It is a documented auction result achieved by a certified elite example that met the strictest standards of strike quality, surface preservation, originality, and rarity. That price did not make the coin valuable. It revealed what was already there. It confirmed that even a 1-cent coin, dismissed millions of times, can carry extraordinary value when history, condition, and scarcity align. The 1945 D-Wheat penny does not demand belief. It has already earned it, and that is why every one of them, every quiet, overlooked cent, still deserves to be examined slowly before it disappears again. Coin number 3. What if I told you that one of the most valuable Lincoln wheat pennies ever sold had nothing special stamped on it all? No D, no S, no visible sign that it was ever meant to be different. Just a single cent, plain, ordinary, and overlooked, released into circulation while the world was at war. The 1942 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during one of the most unstable periods in American history. The United States had just entered World War II. Industry was under pressure. Metal supplies were being monitored. Production speed mattered more than perfection. The mint was not creating collectibles, it was feeding a nation's economy under stress. And in that urgency, something unusual happened quietly without ceremony. Millions of 1942 pennies entered circulation. Most were used immediately. They passed through ration stores, factories, military towns, and post offices. They were carried in pockets, dropped on concrete, exposed to sweat, moisture, and friction. Copper remembers everything. It records time in scratches, dullness, and loss of detail. Nearly all of these coins aged exactly as expected, but a very small number did not. The Philadelphia Mint was known for higher quality strikes compared to branch mints, yet even here, wartime pressure introduced inconsistencies. Dies were pushed longer than normal. Quality checks were reduced. Coins were struck fast and released faster. As a result, truly sharp, perfectly preserved examples of the 1942 no mint mark wheat penny are far rarer than mintage numbers suggest. Preservation is where reality begins to narrow. Most surviving examples show wear. Many were cleaned. Others were improperly stored. Copper reacts quickly to air and handling. A coin that retains clean, original surfaces after more than 80 years did not survive by chance alone, it survived through isolation. Silence. Neglect of a very specific kind. Color tells the next part of the story. Brown examples are common. Red-brown examples are scarce. True red examples from 1942 with no mint mark exist on the edge of probability. Once copper loses its original red color, it never returns. A penny that remains red today has avoided oxidation for generations. Collectors do not assume this. They verify it under magnification, lighting, and grading standards. Condition changes the market completely. In circulated grades, the coin remains affordable. But once it reaches high mint state levels, the supply collapses. Population reports thin dramatically. At the very top, there are no substitutes. Collectors are no longer comparing prices, they are competing for presence. Who gets the opportunity when one finally appears? The absence of a mint mark is not a flaw. It is an identity. Philadelphia minted wheat pennies rely entirely on strike quality, surface preservation, and originality to establish value. There is nowhere to hide imperfections. Every detail must hold. When it does, the result is exceptional. Errors and varieties from 1942 further legitimize the issue's importance. Die varieties, transitional characteristics, and strike anomalies from this wartime year have been studied, certified, and sold publicly. These are not rumors. They are physical records, graded, encapsulated, and archived through major auction houses. Historical context adds gravity. The 1942 wheat penny circulated during a year when the nation's attention was divided between survival abroad and stability at home. Coins from this period passed through hands shaped by uncertainty and sacrifice. Collectors do not assign value to emotion, but emotion intensifies demand, and demand matters. Belief in value is not created by repetition. It is created by structure, professional grading, population data, public auctions. The numismatic market is ruthless. Claims without documentation vanish. Prices without proof collapse. What remains are results that become permanent history. When an elite 1942 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark appears at auction, collectors already understand what they are seeing. They know how few exist in that condition. They know how rarely one surfaces. They know waiting another decade may not produce another chance. That knowledge reshapes behavior. Bidding becomes measured, calm, unavoidable. At this level, the market does not move on excitement. It moves on certainty. Each bid reflects years of research. Each pause reflects confidence. And when the final number is reached, it is not debated, it is recorded. The highest confirmed auction price ever recorded for a 1942 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark is $239,000. This figure is not speculation. It is not an estimate. It is a documented auction result achieved by a certified example that met the strictest standards of strike quality, surface preservation, originality, and rarity. That price did not create the coin's value. It revealed it. It proved that even a penny with no mint mark, no visible signal of importance, can become a six-figure American treasure when condition, history, and scarcity align. And that is why the most dangerous assumption in coin collecting is believing that nothing special looks exactly like nothing special. Because sometimes that is where the value hides. Imagine holding a coin that nobody thought would matter. A simple penny, small, unassuming, yet carrying decades of history. The 1942 no mint mark, the 1945D, the 1951D coins that survived the hands of time, weathered the world, and endured in silence until now. Some of these pennies have reached astonishing auction prices, numbers that make even seasoned collectors stop and take notice. Others remain hidden, tucked away in drawers, jars, or forgotten collections, waiting for the right person to recognize their true worth. If this video opened your eyes, if these coins sparked curiosity and excitement, don't let this moment pass. Subscribe to our channel to uncover more hidden treasures. Like this video if you've been amazed. Share it with fellow collectors. And leave a comment telling us which coin surprised you the most. And your journey doesn't have to end here. Watch our previous video on Eisenhower dollar coins. Those coins, too, hold stories, history, and incredible value that many collectors have overlooked. The next hidden treasure could be closer than you think. Every coin has a story. Every coin holds potential. And the greatest treasures are often the ones you least expect. Keep watching, keep collecting, and let the hunt for hidden value continue.